All right. Feels good to be back. It's been a minute. I want to thank everybody for stopping in. I really appreciate the support as always. Talking kind of light right now because it's late. My daughter is sleeping. You guys know I have a 2 month old. So I'm definitely going to try to speak up, but I'm definitely going to try to keep it a little level and not too excited about some of the things that's transpired with Xbox and the things that's going on with the platform and stuff like that. So just keep in mind, if you do have a problem hearing me, just turn up the volume a bit, but you shouldn't have any issues. Yeah, man. So, as we begin today's show, I just want to touch on a few topics. First thing I want to focus on is the news that Microsoft seems to be getting some more Japanese titles, which is very surprising. And it's a possibility. Let me not say they're getting it, but it's a possibility. Definitely want to congratulate them on some sales. And then I want to focus a little bit on some of the things that I've been hearing in the industry with PS4, Nintendo, and Black Friday. And some of the deals going on with Black Friday. I know a lot of you guys are interested in getting the best consoles and the best games, stuff like that. If you don't know, I'm working at Best Buy part-time right now to help out the wife stay home a little bit longer. So I got the inside scoop, just a little. I don't want to give up too much information. All right, here we go. Hey, Expedite, you're now rocking with your boy KORX Kal-El, the last son of Planet Xbox, and you're listening to Super Podshots. All right, man, I want to thank everybody for stopping in tonight. Make sure you give me a thumbs up. We'd be greatly appreciated if you did that, and make sure you share that out to all your friends and all of your social media networks. Really appreciate the support and helping growing the Tech Network channel. Got a lot of great content on here for you guys today. First thing I want to talk about, obviously, is Microsoft and the news that they have been selling extremely well the last 4 months in the West, in particular the United States. They are the #1 console once again. Now, this is old news. I know I'm behind the times and things like that. Please forgive me. I've been away. But they are the #1 selling console in the US. And that's a big deal. That's a big deal for the simple fact that, the Xbox Slim seems to have changed so many people's minds. And every time I do a show now, it seems I'm always saying how Microsoft is #1. Now, you always have to think about there's a possibility and a very strong possibility that guys may just be holding off from picking up a PlayStation to get the PS4 Pro. And the PS4 Pro is doing pretty well. It's selling pretty well. As somebody that kind of knows what's going on with the PS4 Pro and how it's selling, it's doing pretty well. I wouldn't say it's doing anything astronomical number-wise, at least retail, but it is moving pretty well. But the Xbox One S continues to sell extremely well. And I wonder if it's due to that Blu-ray player and how big that Blu-ray player plays a role in the direction that everyone is now going towards the Xbox One. Clearly not in the East. It's not a big deal because they're not selling as high in the East. And I don't think that'll ever change. I just think it's just not their market. But as they continue to sell well in the West, they've been doing extremely well in the UK. They were #1 there. They were #1 in Australia the last 2 months. They've been #1 in the US the last 4 months, and they actually were pretty high in Mexico as well. And we all know how they do in South America. So it's a big deal for Microsoft. Console sales clearly aren't the end all be all when it comes to gaming and how successful you are. At least not for Microsoft, being that they have games on PC now. But it does help continue to increase the sales of games. The bigger your install base is, the more games sell. And, look at Gears of War. It was the #1 selling exclusive last month, 617,000 retail. I'm pretty sure that it probably did way more than that because of digital. Everyone has gone digital, at least on the Xbox side of things. I know a lot of people have gone digital just because you can do the game sharing thing. You also have to take into account that you have Play Anywhere, so you get 2 copies of the same game and you can play it on your Windows 10 PC. So I think a lot of people tend to forget that the options for getting digital actually are better than it is to get it retail. And I think a lot of times when it comes to these exclusives, people aren't recognizing that, and they're kind of blowing it off a little bit. Like, oh, the game didn't sell well. It's Gears of War. It should have sold like 3 million a day it launched in a week or whatever. But I think people tend to forget that Microsoft has always tried to push digital. That's what they've been doing since the day one, since the original thought of the console. They wanted to push digital. So for them, doing the Play Anywhere, being able to get a lot of the legendary editions and custom editions and stuff like that online is huge. And then you also have the sales of that console as well. That's done extremely well. So kudos to them, man. And I'm happy for them. I'm glad that everything is working out with the Slim. A lot of people doubted that it would actually sell because they wound up announcing the Slim at the same time they announced Xbox One Scorpio. And of course, you have some guys like myself that really have the urge to go out and pick one up, but is trying his best to fight that urge to pick up an Xbox Scorpio next year, as well as maybe a secondary console in either the PS4 Pro or the Nintendo Switch, which I'm still on the fence about. I'm still thinking about that. And I still haven't figured out which one I want to get since seeing the Switch and the way that the direction that Nintendo has taken it has really kind of still left a mark on me where I'm leaning towards the Switch. I don't know why. I have no reason to trust Nintendo, but for some reason I'm leaning towards the Switch. So, Microsoft continues to sell well. They just won an award recently for the best marketing team, I believe it was. The Microsoft just won best. What was it? I think it was like best, not first party studio. It was like best publisher. There you go. They just won the best publisher award, which is a big deal because they put out a lot of money when it comes to marketing. And even though we don't see it for every game, when you look at the type of commercials that they put out for their games, they're always spectacular. It's always awesome music. It really sets the mood. It makes you want to go out and pick that game up. And they do a really good job at marketing, at least when they're showing a particular product, at marketing what they want to sell. When I watched that Windows 10 event recently and they showed off the Surface Studio and they showed the commercial for it and they had like the song playing, I literally wanted to do anything possible to pick up a Surface Studio. I didn't care how I wanted it, how I had to get it. I just wanted to go out and get that thing. And obviously the price is astronomical at like $3,000. But at the end of the day, it was an amazing commercial, and I was very impressed with it. So because I was impressed with it, I can see how Microsoft has won Publisher of the Year when it comes to, what they're publishing and their marketing for the games that they've had over the course of the year. So kudos to them, and that's another plus and their factor besides their game sales, and that's really good, man. Really supportive of the Xbox brand. I'm glad everybody is starting to pick it up and starting to like it. Forza is the #1 selling or the highest selling exclusive so far, which is great because a lot of people doubted that Forza was going to sell, and I already know that thing's well into the millions at this point. Forza Horizon 3. Great title. #1 racing game out on the market right now when it comes to consoles, at least. So that's an awesome thing for them. And then you have to then turn around and look at the rest of the holiday lineup, what they have coming with Dead Rising 3, and then a few other titles like some small indie games here and there. Now, as we move forward, my last show, I got a chance to talk about Japanese games. And I was griping on Kingdom Hearts, and I was upset because not so much upset for myself, but just upset for the install base because I'm like, the Xbox guys aren't getting 1.5, they're not getting 2.5. How are they going to know what Kingdom Hearts is like if they aren't able to play the original 2 titles? And as difficult as that may seem, we were still getting Kingdom Hearts 3. So you're kind of leaving people in limbo, and they're saying, no, you don't need it. You don't have to play the games, the brand new game or whatever. And they'll probably give you some type of background on what happened in the first 2 titles and stuff like that. And I know there's more titles. I know there's games on DS, but I'm just talking about the main, the main 3. I know those stories link together somehow, but I'm just talking about the main 3 as the focus. And you would have to go on YouTube just to get a backstory on the first Kingdom Hearts game in a second. Well, sure enough, I don't know, like less than a few days later, Phil Spencer and team came out and announced that they had just put Lost Odyssey as backwards compatible for the platform. And I was super hyped for it. I was like, oh man, this is awesome. This is great. I finally get a chance to play Lost Odyssey again. And then I realized how many hours I put into Lost Odyssey. And I was just like, there's no way I can play this game again. There's absolutely no way I could play it again. But it was an amazing game. You can even check out some of my achievements on that game. I pretty much almost maxed out at 1,000 or whatever it was. I'm like at like 920 something. I'm probably missing like 1 or 2 achievements for that game. But I really went in on Lost Odyssey. So I was happy for that. Then followed up, we had Blue Dragon, and that worked out really well. So for me, that's cool for anybody who needs a JRPG fix. If you missed it on 360, you're able to play it on Xbox One. The one game that I would like for them to release is Tales of Vesperia, because I got towards the end of that game. And obviously Tales of Vesperia, any Tales game is really amazing. But I got to the end of that game and I almost was able to, do a boss battle. And what happened was I saved the game right before that battle started, and somehow I overlapped like all of my saves. So every save started me from that boss battle, and I didn't get a chance to go get my ultimate weapons for my characters. I think I got 1. And that last boss is hard as hell, bro. He's hard. It's a tough character to beat. And I just was so frustrated that I never beat the game. I never beat Tales of Vesperia because I just didn't have the weapons to beat him. So I would love to get my hands on Tales of Vesperia again, and hopefully they're able to work out something and get that game on there. But the reason why I'm bringing this up is because I just read today recently that the guys over at, I believe it's Square, they're bringing out Neir 2, Neir Automata, for the PlayStation 4. And that was supposed to be an exclusive IP. We got Scalebound over here on Xbox One. I think Nintendo got something Bayonetta. I don't know what it was. I don't know. Anyway, long story short, there was 3 titles that were going out between the 3 consoles, and each one was exclusive. Now there's rumor that Neir has a strong possibility of coming to the Xbox One if it sells well on PS4 and PC. You would think it would be the opposite, that if it's sold poorly on PC and PS4, it would come to Xbox One for more sales. But I think that the success of the title, if it sells well, they may want it to reach more audiences, because then they may have money recouped to port. So I think it's really good that Microsoft and Xbox and the Xbox install base may have an opportunity to play Neir. Clearly, I would never want, especially any third-party title that's not owned by a company like Scalebound, I would clearly want any third-party title to not be exclusively played multi-plat across all platforms. I think it's the smartest thing that you can do. However, I do understand that exclusive deals and how that all works out and how that favors that console, and it can tip the scales a lot of times, depending on what's on the console and what's being sold. So that's big news, man. That's another JRPG, a brand new one. Or shall I say, I won't say a JRPG. My understanding is more of an action RPG, but it's still Japanese-esque. So and it's right up Xbox Gamers Alley. It's right up Xbox Gamers Alleys. If you love the hack and slash type RPG games, that is the type of game that it is. A hack and slash game with RPG elements to it. It's not turn-based, anything like that. And it looks good. I have to admit, it looks really good. I was impressed with it, and hopefully it sells extremely well on both PS4 and the PC, and hopefully it makes its way over to Xbox One. I think that would be a plus for the console, and I know a lot of people would be excited about that. So we'll see how that all pans out, man. I'm excited for the opportunity to have to see more JRPGs on the Xbox One, and hopefully we get surprised next year with something from Mistwalker, because man, I'm dying for another Mistwalker title. God, how I wish there was another Mistwalker title on Xbox. So all in all, man, I think Microsoft is doing pretty well this holiday. They've really impressed me with everything they've done, all the support they've given out. The latest update has hit. Everybody is joining clubs. And by the way, we have a club. It's called TIC Club. If you want to look up clubs, go ahead and join us. We'll be doing tournaments in January for rewards. And I will go ahead and send out a message where you guys can go and vote on what will be the first game for the first tournament. Excited about that. I can't wait to get that started and get you guys out there playing in the TIC Club. We're doing really well. I think we're at about 90 members at this point. So that's pretty cool. Pretty cool. Especially since it's finally hit everybody. That's pretty awesome. So yeah, man, I think that if Microsoft continues to do this, the console is starting to sell really well in the West. If they can continue to sell really well, I think it'll open up the door for more and more games. And if that happens, I think there'll be a lot more for Xbox gamers to play, and a lot less that the fanboys could talk about how the console isn't diverse, because the Xbox is a diverse console. It's just missing pretty much just one genre of games, which is mostly Japanese titles and stuff like that. Because for the most part, things that hit PS4 eventually hit Xbox One, and that's really honestly the truth when you look at it overall. And that's not to negate the PlayStation 4 platform. I think it's a great platform and stuff like that. I'm not hating anything like that. Don't get it twisted, because I had somebody hit me up last week like, man, you're bashing the PlayStation 4 and I thought you were different. Dude, trust me, I'm not bashing PS4 at all. This is the Xbox show mainly. I do talk about PlayStation. I don't bash it at all. I'm just doing a comparison. And I think the PlayStation 4 is a good console. I really do. I don't think it's great. I'm not going to say that. I don't think it's great. I think it's a really good console. But it's not, there hasn't been anything that's drawn me to it 100%, where it's like, oh my God, I have to get it. And even to this day with the PS4 Pro in the recent news, that still has made me hesitate to pick up the console, which allows me to jump into my next topic. So, there's been news going around that the PS4 Pro has had some issues with a few games, not a lot, but just a few games, where they're not performing as well on the PS4 Pro in comparison to the PlayStation 4. And the reason for that is because of the upscaling that they're doing with 4K. And that's mainly from what I understand, what I've heard, what I've read. The upscaling is causing some of the frame rate issues on these other games, and they're underperforming. Even though they look good, they're underperforming on the PS4 Pro when they shouldn't. One of the titles that actually looks better on the PS4 Pro, on the PS4 instead of the PS4 Pro, was Road to Final Fantasy, which seems to be a bit more blurry on the PS4 Pro. Now, clearly, this is something that can be fixed. I don't want people to think that, oh my God, PS4 Pro is trash. I can't believe this. Look, the PS4 Pro is a great console, and it is doing a good job at what it's meant to do. It has the power, it has the stats and what it needs to get games to at least upscale 4K or native 4K and things like that. But there's some things that need to be worked out. There's some bugs, there's some patches in it. So whenever they get those things out, I'm pretty sure they'll clean it up and everything will get back on track. I think when you're taking a game that's already on a platform and then you're trying to put it on a newer platform with some new specs in it here and there, yeah, I think you're going to run into issues. But the great thing about it, because then I did turn around and had someone talk to me about Scorpion, about how it was going to be the same thing. I had to pause and tell them, no, it's not. And I want people to understand this isn't a PlayStation Xbox thing. I'm not making it a fanboy thing. It really isn't. You just have to understand that Microsoft just took this year. They took a year to do this. They already have people working on these games a year out. They have an extra 4 gigs of RAM in their platform. They have an extra 2 teraflops or 1.8 teraflops in their console. They're going with a newer chipset. They have higher throughput. Everything in that console seems built to make what needs to work. And that's really important. It's really important. And for anybody to sit up here and say that, oh, it's not that big of a difference, it is and it will be. I've seen a few people come out and talk about the PS4 Pro and say stuff like, oh, it's not much difference. I think it is a difference. I think it is a difference. Let's not sell the PS4 Pro short. I think it is a difference, and I think it's well worth the purchase if you don't have a PlayStation. If you have a PlayStation 4, then yeah, I would stick with my PS4. Me personally, I'm going for Scorpio next year. That's going to be my main console after I train in my Xbox One, and I'm still on the fence whether to get a Pro or a Switch. So I'm just waiting for the Switch to drop so I can get, definitive information on that before I make my next move towards what console I'm going to pick up as my secondary console. But I just don't see how people can do the comparison of the PS4 Pro's issues to Microsoft's. And the great thing about it was that you always hear Phil say that they are ahead of schedule. That was the one thing that people tend to forget. They're ahead of schedule. They're ahead of schedule. So I wouldn't be surprised if the console actually released earlier than holiday 2017. So let's say, for example, it was to come out in November. I wouldn't be surprised if they release it in September. I wouldn't be surprised if they released it 2 months earlier. And if they're ahead of schedule, I can tell you right now that the games that they're working on are pretty much ahead of schedule. I mean, what they're using right now was an SDK kit. That's a prototype of what they will have in the Xbox One once they get the chipset in 2017 from AMD, more than likely. So, I mean, for the most part, you have to look at that and say to yourself, they're going to be well prepared, at least when it comes to their first party games. You also have the news of UWP. Any game that's in 4K will automatically be native 4K on Scorpio. That's a big deal. That's a big deal. Being able to share that SDK kit across platforms and having something on PC look the way it does, and knowing that it can just be ported to Scorpio and look the same, that's a big deal. So Microsoft has done their work, man. They've done a great job. Now, I don't know if all UWP games have worked well on PC. That's the concern for me, because a lot of games didn't work well. I know Gears didn't work well out of the gate. I know that Forza, was it Forza? It might have been Forza didn't work well out of the gate. I know KI worked pretty good out the gate. What else do they have? Infinite Warfare has had online issues out the gate. So really, it's just, you just have to question whether or not, what they're putting out, is it going to work out of the gate if they port it over to the console? That's my only concern. And then in that instance, it wouldn't be the game issue. It would just be the UWP issue. And if it is, I hope they fix it. So that way, when they do get those games that work on PC and they're able to be ported over, there will be no issues and everything will work the way it's supposed to. People still to this day believe that Microsoft and Xbox Scorpio will not run games in native 4K. I don't know why, but you're going to be surprised. There's going to be a lot of humble pie for a lot of people come holiday 2017. A lot of people are going to be really humbled that a console was pumping out games at this native resolution, maybe with lock frames. And I think they've prepared for it. Being able to add another 4 gigs of RAM and make it 12 gigs of RAM is big for your CPU, especially if you get a new CPU that's optimized well and it works well. No more this ESRAM crap. I think Microsoft is onto something. They may be doing something where it's the same, but it's different. It's the same when it comes to the software, but the hardware is different and maybe utilizing it in a way where it works. So that's something that we all have to keep an eye out on, and we have to look out for, and hopefully, that pans out and Xbox gamers will be very happy. They won't have much to worry about when it comes to Scorpio. Now, some of you may or may not know, I've said this earlier in the show, I picked up a second job, and I'm working at Best Buy, just for the holidays or whatever, just for the, help the wife out or whatever, got the new baby, wanted to stay home a little bit longer with the baby before she heads back. And, I'm in there and I'm talking to the TV guys, and these guys are like certified television dudes. And I'm sitting there saying to myself, dude, I gotta get an amazing TV next year for Scorpio. Like, if I can't get an amazing TV next year for Scorpio, I don't want some budget television. I don't want a TV that's $600 with HDR. I want some top of the line, really awesome TV. And everybody I talked to there, for the most part, one of the guys, very bright, works with, knows all the information about TVs, broke down some things I didn't even know. And I was just blown away at the knowledge that he dropped on me when it came to some of these TVs and how a lot of us are duped at the refresh rate and at the delay time. A lot of us are duped, and we're thinking it's one thing, but it's not. It's not at all. It's just, honestly, it's just jargon. So I'm definitely going to have him come on the show. And if I can't get him on the show, I will definitely take notes. So the next show that I do, I'm going to do a TV special. So that way you guys know what will be the best TV to get in 2017 to pick up with your Xbox One Scorpio. So start saving now. For me, I'm probably going to save at least 2 G's. I don't know how I'm going to save 2 G's knowing that I'm going to E3 in 2017 and I got to pay for a hotel and a flight. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to stack $2,000, put it on the side. Half of that's for Scorpio, and then whatever's left over will be for a new television. 4K HDR TV, top of the line. I need something that's going to last and it's going to be awesome. And for the most part, I spoke to these guys about every TV you could think of. LG, Vizio, Samsung, Sony. And the impression that I got every time, well, I can't give it away. If I give it away, then what will be the point of the show? I can't tell you that. But listen, definitely keep an eye out for that show. You guys will be really impressed with what these guys have to talk about. You'll get the information you need. You make sure you take notes. So that way, when you go to Best Buy or you go to Walmart, you're able to pick up the best TV that you can get at a good price to play with Scorpio. So that's a big deal whenever that show produces. If you haven't checked out our recent On the Red Carpet, make sure you do. That is, we did a show with Fury, which is an indie game coming to Xbox One, initially launched on the PlayStation 4, but is coming with exclusive content and updated controls, which is big, which is nice. It's great that Microsoft and the Xbox platform is getting more indie games, but they're getting them slightly better than their initial release with exclusive content, and that's great for the Xbox guys out there. So make sure you check out On the Red Carpet with Fury down below. I also want to talk about, Nintendo. I'm hype on Nintendo Switch. I don't want to stay on Nintendo's topic too long, but I'm hype on Nintendo Switch, man. I don't know what it is about this console, bro. I really don't. Everybody's like, I'm not getting this thing. I'm not picking it up. It's trash out there. Dude, I am like so into this Switch thing. I really am, because of the simple fact that it has a controller that's similar to the Xbox One. So the familiarity is there. It's an actual console in a way where it's not so much a handheld, but you can make it a handheld. And I just think about bringing it with me on the road and strapping it to the back of my car, letting my kid play, or taking it with me and not having to lug my Xbox around and still having something that entertains me and the family. And I showed my wife the commercial, man, and she was just like, wow, that's cool. And if you can get my wife to say that's cool, it's cool. I can tell you that right now, because my wife is not easily impressed with many things. So I'm definitely looking forward to the Nintendo Switch. NVIDIA seems to be onto something. They're saying that people will be amazed with it, and they're building a strong relationship with Nintendo. And with AMD and AMD and Microsoft and Sony and their partnership with their consoles, Nintendo hopping with NVIDIA, I think, is very smart. Very, very smart. And I think they're going to show improve with the Switch when it comes out. And I think a lot of people will be impressed and blown away by it. I constantly watch The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, and I'm just completely impressed with the game. I really am. As an open world Zelda, I'm like really impressed with the game, and I'm excited to get it. And I really haven't been excited for a Zelda game in a very, very long time. So I'm definitely hype on that. And I heard the rumor about some of the games that they showed in the commercial weren't actual games, like they weren't real. It was just like kind of like a highlight reel of things they put together. But if they can come out with something where Mario looks a little bit more realistic, and they come out with a new Metroid, and they use some of their IPs properly, man, I would hop on it. I probably would never get it for third-party games, obviously, because I have Scorpio. I will have Scorpio, but for the most part, I would definitely hop on it for anything they put out mature or anything they put out platforming wise that I could play with my son. And I think that'd be really, really cool. And I'm really impressed with it. And that's the main reason why I'm thinking about getting it over the PS4 Pro. You know, now I'm impressed with Horizon Zero Dawn for the Pro, but it's just I'm thinking about, the same way I thought about Xbox One, about what it could do as a console. Because I know a lot of people feel like, well, Sony's always been a gaming console. Well, Xbox has always been a gaming console too. Or did you forget that they invested $1 billion in games? Whether those games panned out to be great or not is subjective. A lot of the games that came out, I really liked. But that's $1 billion invested in titles that we've been receiving. And I think that's finishing up next year with Scalebound, which was probably the rest of that money from Don Matrick. Going forward will probably just be all of Phil Spencer's deals, which I'm looking forward to see what they announce at this year's E3. I am super hyped to go. I am like super excited. So with the Switch, it's completely different, but it's also a console. I don't have to have no giant screen in front of me. I don't have to have any wands in front of me. That's why I didn't like the Wii or the Wii U, and I didn't like the name of the console either. I definitely wasn't buying it for that. So, at the end of the day, man, I just think that it's really important. Nintendo, I don't really care about third-party support, but Nintendo makes new IPs and stop riding their older IPs. But if they do ride the older IPs, they just make them more mature. Just maybe refresh the story. Something that separates it from what they've been doing for decades. And hopefully they can do that. And I feel like it's going to be a fresh start with the Nintendo Switch. So I'm excited about that console. I really am. And that's why I'm leaning more towards that than the PS4 Pro. And again, please don't take it like I'm hating the PS4 or the PS4 Pro. I am not. I grew up on PS2, on PS1. Is why I always say I love JRPGs. And I know a lot of people get on me about, well, how are you on Xbox? I stated this before. 360 had some JRPGs. And because they had JRPGs, and when they started out on PS3 didn't have a lot of games. That right there alone, Gears and Halo and Forza and Crackdown and Fable and Mass Effect and BioShock and all those games that came out on the Xbox One, whether it was time exclusive or not, is what made me rock with 360 and why I'm here today, because that platform, minus Red Ring of Death, was one of the best consoles I have ever played on or have ever experienced. Xbox Live, parties, the ever-changing interface, it's a great console. The 360 was a great console for its time. It really was. And I just felt that when I compared it to when I played Halo, and then I played Killzone, to me, there was no comparison. So it was like everything that I played on Xbox, at least when it came to first party and other genres other than Japanese games, just was better. I thought Halo was better than Killzone. I like Fable more than I liked it's not called second, Infamous, because I thought Infamous was really repetitive. It was like, okay, open up a subway, turn the power on. Go to the hospital, turn the power on. Go to this building, kill the enemies, turn the power on. And I felt like that for the whole city. You just kept doing that over and over and over again until you finally got to the end of the game. So I just, with Fable 2, I was really impressed with Fable 2. So they had Fable. Forza was always good. Then they dropped Forza Horizon at the end. I just felt like they just had better games in the other genres. And with friends and multiplayer, to me, that's the console to be with. And with Xbox One, I've been highly impressed with it. Ever since day one, even as they gradually improved the console over and over and over again, I've been really and continuously impressed with what they've done with the console, all the games they've released, and how I've been able to play with my friends like that. And that's why I like it. I like Sony for their single player experiences and the Japanese games that they have. But even then, the Japanese games that they put out haven't impressed me. And maybe because I grew up on Chrono Triggers and the Legend of Dragoons and the Final Fantasy 7s and the Final Fantasy 10s and all those classic, Secret of Manas and all those classic JRPGs. Those are the games I'm looking for. And I I think besides, I don't know how to pronounce the game for PS4. I think it's Neo, Ni-OH. Besides that, and I'm not a Bloodborne fan. I don't like Dark Souls. I don't play those type of games. So besides that, maybe Neir. I want to say Star Ocean. I've never played a Persona. It's the one game that I missed all through the generations of Personas. Those are only a few games that I'm into. And Star Ocean didn't review well, so I don't even know about that game. So that's why I haven't switched over. But Horizon Zero Dawn looks impressive, and that's one of the games that's leading me towards a pro as well. So listen, don't take what I'm saying to heart, man. I'm an Xbox guy through and through, but I don't hate. I think all platforms are great, and you should be able to play what you want and enjoy what you want. But it's Xbox for life over here, man, and we will never bash any console. We will always support gaming as a whole. But if you're an Xbox gamer, this is the best place to be and the best place to get your news and information. So, that's it, man. I'm going to keep it light. I'm going to keep it short on this episode. I don't want to keep you guys here all night long. I will try to be back next week, if possible, on Wednesday, the day I'm supposed to do the show. It's just become difficult because the baby sleeps at night. Now I have to take the baby while my wife goes to sleep to get ready for work, and it's hard to do the shows. I could go back to recording, but I know you guys like to do the live shows and like to do chat and ask questions and things like that. So I try to keep it as live as much as I possibly can. Still working out a few interviews before the year is up. Got a few surprises. Keep it locked on the Inner Circle, man. You guys know what we do. You know how we do. We had Albert Pinello on the show. 4K, 60 frames per second, uncompromised. That was a big show for us. A lot of you guys out there got new news and information. I'm glad you guys loved the show and you supported it. I'm working out some things with some people from Microsoft Studios, talk about some games. And I'm working out a surprise guest to come on the show. So keep it locked here, man, and definitely subscribe to the Inner Circle Network. So you can catch on Mondays the Multiverse podcast, where we talk about Xbox, PlayStation, pretty much any multi-platform game, comic books, movies, TV. It's the multiverse. Anything goes on that show. You can catch that show on Mondays at 8, I believe, or 9 o'clock, 8 o'clock, I believe. On Tuesday, we have Writer's Block, which is a multi-platform show with Nicodemus representing the PlayStation side, Kiss Smooth and Fame Entertainment representing the Xbox side. And we're still recruiting. If you guys are interested in being podcasters, we are looking for some PlayStation guys, maybe some PC guys to join our Writer's Block crew. So definitely leave a message in the comment section, and we'll work something out. Maybe we can get you on as a guest to see how you guys work out chemistry wise. On Wednesdays, you have Super Podshots, which is myself, Kal-El, your hero for Xbox, at about 7 p.m. Eastern. And then on Fridays, we alternate between Tick Podcast and, of course, Anchorman V's Top Shelf. So keep it locked, man. I know we haven't had any Tick shows recently. It's basically all on me, scheduling wise, just trying to get this thing down and trying to work it out with the wife and the baby and stuff like that. So don't forget, we're always here, the premier podcast for Xbox One. I'm your host, Kal-El, the last son of Planet Xbox, and I'm off this planet. You guys have a great night. Peace.